Yo, in this interview, Anthony talks about how it was like managing Travis Scott, each album experience with Kanye. But before you watch, I know it's a long 45-minute video. I'm just trying to test out if you guys enjoy long form interviews better. So, to make it easier for you guys, in the description below, I put timestamps for each topic that we talk about. So, if you want to skip to your favorite part, go ahead. Hello?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Anthony, how's it going, man?
Going well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm pretty excited to talk to you, man.
Good.
Yeah, what are you up to today?
Trying to find this drill power charger for my drill. I'm moving out of this studio that I've been in for 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
When we're done with this call, so I'm just trying to find. If I can't find the power supply to the drill, then I'm fucked.
Man,
It's a lot of manual drilling today.
You might have to buy a new one, man. You never know. Hope not. But let's get into it, man. For people who don't know Anthony Kilhoffer, you're legendary in my books. You know, you've.
Thank you.
I feel like you've worked on the best catalog of music, in my opinion. But you know, I am biased. I am a Kanye stan, so I just want to say I'm so excited to do this. Let's first,
Thank you.
right off the bat, let's start about what you're doing right now. I kind of just want to jump to that. I was talking to Matt, your business partner, about First Gen.
Yes.
Talk to me a bit about that. What is First Gen?
So it's a label that we're doing with single deals with young artists, right? So we're not trying to sign people to their whole life. We're just offering, one single.
Yeah.
And then if we like, if that goes well, then we'll, there's options, but, what we're doing is we'll help with the track as much as we need. Either we'll produce the track, co-produce, mix if we need it, or sometimes like one artist is bringing in the whole thing completed already and all I'm doing is mastering it. Then we're using Matt's team of young college students, tastemakers, right, to put it out into the universe. And they're also kind of our A&R team. We have a group of kids across the country in different schools, right? So they're putting that into the culture. And then we're using our design team to make the T-shirts to put on our website. Then we distribute the record. We do publicity. And if we need a video, then we do the video also.
Yeah.
We're providing like label services. And it's, just single deals, no producer or no, what do they call that? You don't have to sign to my production company.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why it's called First Gen. We want to be the first time these people take it from the bedroom type production to make it something that sounds like it should be on Kiss FM.
That's important because our whole thing is about kids take over, right? And it's just really, when I heard the name First Gen, I was like, yeah, this is so helpful to people like around my age. Why did you choose so many like young people to actually work on your team?
Because they're the consumers.
Oh yeah.
Right? So they're also the people that are helping put it together. So they know. And they're also kind of like the A&R staff. You know what I mean? So when we talk to them, it's youth. We're in the business of youth culture. So where are you sourcing these ideas from but the youth, right?
Yes.
So, they're also helping find artists. They're recommending people that they like, that we're reaching out to, and then trying to help build them.
Yeah.
What we want to be like for artists that, this way we can provide the product, the distribution, a little bit of press, and a T-shirt and a Shopify all in one. You know what I mean? So all you got to do is make your product.
Yeah.
And then we'll even help with, do you have a manager? Can we recommend you to an agent? Whatever it takes. It's kind of like the first stop.
Well, I mean, you were talking about Travis, and the first thing I actually saw on your Instagram when I went on there was it was a photo of Travis Scott performing, and then you were like in the background. And I heard that you managed Travis Scott, so please explain that.
I just, I managed him. I got him to CAA, got him his agent, helped him to navigate the business. I met Travis in 2012. I have my, I don't know if you should put this in the article, maybe, But I have my I have my email online. All you got to do is Google me and you just go to the website. You know, with 5 minutes of research, if you want to find me, you can find me.
Yeah.
So Travis had went through and read all the Kanye Cudi credits, like back in the day when they still made CDs. Your name was on the CD sleeve, right? So he went down and, you know, saw me, and he reached out to me. He reached out to Mike. He reached out to everybody. But I was when people reach out to me, I not necessarily respond, but I will pretty much listen to everything everybody sends me, just so I know, you know, just what kids are thinking about. You know what I mean? Just because, and it worked out with Travis, because the first email he sent me in like 2011, you know, what I do is I watch the progression. He continually kept making good music, better videos, and then finally, when I saw Lovesick video, I was like, you know, if you're in LA, let's sit down and da-da-da-da-da. And so he got to LA, and then I met him, and we just started that relationship there.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's when I started managing. That's how he got to good music. That's how he got to Kanye. You know, that's the whole beginning of his genesis. Yes, you know, the T.I. thing was in motion too, but I think the Kanye association is what really put him over the top.
Okay, well, I kind of actually want to rewind a bit because, I mean, you said you introduced Travis to Kanye, but like, let's talk about your earlier career. So, how did you actually get into music? Because I'm wondering how you got into that position.
So how did I get into music? I mean, I had a band in the '90s, you know, in the late '90s, and I was in college, and then I moved to Chicago, and I started interning at a recording studio.
Well, what were you in college for?
History.
Oh, okay. I did not expect that. Yeah, continue.
Well, I mean, I didn't think, you know, it was different then. This is all pre-internet days. I know it's hard to fathom that this existed.
Mind blown. I'm mind blown.
I know. I mean, I got my first email address my senior year of college.
Okay.
And I think I was actually done with college. It was like, my buddy was just like, oh man, you should come to the computer lab. You want to see this email thing? I was like, okay. Yeah, let's check out, what's this email shit you talk about?
That's crazy.
So anyways, yeah, so I moved to Chicago, want to start a band. You know, I wanted to be Sonic Youth, Thurston Moore, you know, that kind of New York noise rock band. And, you know, I did, and we started to be somewhat successful. You know, had local gigs, regional tours, da-da-da-da-da-da. But then so at the time, then my brother-in-law was working for John Hughes, the film director. I don't know if you know who he is, but he did 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and Home Alone, da-da-da. He's from Chicago, too, this gentleman. So his son wanted to be a rapper, who's my age. John Hughes Jr. is my age. So my brother-in-law was taking this kid at the time, now he's a grown man, to all the studios in Chicago where John was making his record. He was just kind of supervising my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law asked one of the studios if they needed an assistant, and I said, or if they wanted an intern, if I wanted to intern there, because then at nighttime I could record my band's music in the studio. Smart. After, you know, so that was how I got into the music business. So then after doing that for like a year, I met the man who should remain nameless, R. Kelly. Ugh. So that's where I really like. So from 97 to 99, I worked with R. Kelly.
Oh, okay.
So that's what really took me from noise rock, New York music that was making me no money.
Yeah.
To like, before I met R. Kelly, I didn't even understand what the Billboard magazine was. You know, and then his music director was like showing me all the songs that they had written that was on the Billboard Hot 100, and you know they're driving the Mercedes. I was like, well, what the fuck? You know, like how does this work? You know, I was like, So I mean, that's basically how I learned the music business, because it was right when Rob got his record deal with Jimmy Iovine. Yeah. And you know, so I said we did a double album, the R album. You know, I worked on Sparkle's album. You know, all kinds of stuff. But that's where I learned the method, the production method of, you know, hip hop, R&B, real chords, intro, verse, chorus, verse, bridge.
Yeah.
You know, how to use an 808, how to use an MPC, how to use a sampler, because, you know, we're still recording on tape machines. We had to fly vocals around and samplers, and,
Yeah.
you know, how to use sequencers, you know. And then I was also at the very beginning one of the first people to start using Pro Tools.
Oh.
So that's what kind of got me in the room with him, was my ability to edit in Pro Tools, because, you know, people were, you know, when Pro Tools came out, it was hard for everyone to switch over their thought process from tape to Pro Tools. So
Yeah.
I saw that as, if you want to be in cutting edge and the leader in this game, you have to be on what's new shit. It's like same way that, like, when I saw Fruity Loops, I started using Fruity Loops to make beats instead of Logic.
Yeah.
Because that's what the world is doing. If you know, you can't put a Mercedes emblem on a Honda and think it's going to fucking go faster.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I mean, so you think it was your ability to use Pro Tools, like, before a bunch of other people that got you to work with R. Kelly, really?
Yeah. And that's what helped me then. Because then as soon as that stopped, I moved to LA, and that was the same thing that kind of positioned me in Los Angeles, you know. And then I had all that time, you know, I had all that, you know, experience working, because Kanye used the MPC just like R. Kelly used it, you know. So Kanye's mode of operation and Robert's was the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, using the MPC to sequence and the ASR-10 to sample. So I knew that world already, and I knew how to interface it with either the tape machine, you know, or the Pro Tools via SMPTE timecode, so that we could lock up the machines to the either Pro Tools or the 2-inch, and we could, you know, that's how you make more elaborate productions, because the MPC only had 8 outputs, right?
Yeah.
But maybe the drum machine, inside the drum machine, you had 32 sounds in it. So you had to, you know how to sequence it in multiple passes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't have that tech knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really helped me get, you know, I remember the first sessions with Kanye. He was blown away by my ability to control those 3 machines.
Yeah.
And that's what really started this relationship, our relationship of working for like the next 12 years.
How did you get into the position to even, like, be in front of Kanye and show him your abilities?
Well, he was just, so then after Robert R. Kelly, I moved, after that 2 years of hell, I moved, I did like music for commercials for about 6 months, and then I was like, I'm moving to LA.
Were you just not interested in that?
Well, it's like, you know, working for R. Kelly, and he was at the time super successful. This was right after I Believe I Can Fly, so we're doing songs from Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And so that's why I came to LA, and I found it a good spot, because a lot of people were hating on hip hop. It's, you know, they're like, oh, fuck, bro, it's just like disco. It's going to be dead, man. Fuck that. You
They were wrong.
You know, basically, they're super racist, you know,
Yeah.
is what it was.
Yeah.
You know, they had all kinds of rules. You know, we don't make hip hop here. I'm like, fuck you. You know, like that's what some studios would say. I'm like, that's just being racist. You can't say that we don't make hip hop here. That's like, you don't want black people here.
Straight up.
Basically what you're saying. You know, we don't do those sessions here. I was like, oh, fuck you. And I still never went back to those studios, even after, you know, everybody changed their tune when hip hop became popular.
True. Yeah, I feel you. So you were saying that, so you got in front of Kanye because you technically you moved to LA, right?
Well, I got to Kanye because Kanye. The first time I met him, he was just producing, right? So he was like any other producer, you know. And so I was assistant at the record plant, that's what I did after I left Rob. I moved to LA. I went from being an engineer back to an assistant, just because I didn't have any clients. You know, anybody can be a freelance engineer, but that doesn't mean you're going to make any money.
Okay.
You know, so I went back, and then I was the studio assistant at the record plant for, I don't know, 5 years. But that's where I met Pharrell, will.i.am, Kanye, Ron Fair, Jimmy Iovine. I mean, that's where I made all the connections that I still use to this day. That's where I learned the music business.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I learned, you know, mixing techniques, you know. Mm-hmm. So I was an assistant there, and when you're an assistant at the studio, people come in and they need an engineer. They're like, I don't have an engineer. So then the studio will be like, oh, well, we'll give you our assistant as the engineer, and then we'll have the runner be the assistant. So when Kanye came in to do, like, I think the first session was a flowetry session with Marsha Ambrose.
Okay.
I was his engineer. And he's like, I need an engineer. So they called me, and I started working for him, and we did this flowetry session. It's like, man, you did a good job, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm going to be Kanye. I'm Kanye West. I'm going to be the greatest rapper of all time. So I'm like, okay, great. Here's my number. Please call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After doing a couple sessions, then he came back one day. I get a call from the studio. You know, Kanye's coming. He needs you to engineer. Okay, great. So he gets there. You know, he's like, man, I just got a record deal, blah, blah, blah. He's like, man, we're going to start my album right now.
Which album was this at the
Okay,
time?
great. Pardon me?
Which album was this at the time?
College Dropout.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you worked with him starting graduation. But okay, continue.
No, so then he pulls out, he came, he had his MPC in a suitcase, and I think we rented an ASR 10, and then he recorded his whole album to this 8-track, he recorded his raps to this digital 8-track Roland VS 880. So we locked up all these things, we synced these things up to Pro Tools, we dumped all the songs in, and then, you know, we started to produce on top of them. So then John Legend shows up and starts playing piano on top of the songs, and then Tony Williams starts singing. You know, it's like the typical production thing. Like, he had the whole album already recorded in his little digital Roland recorder. And then, you know, we put it into Pro Tools and just, you know, built upon it. And that's what made it what it is today.
Yeah. So
then, you know, yeah, that's where it started. And then when you know, that's the beginning.
Yeah, so from College Dropout, then you did Late Registration. Why is it say on the internet that you work with him only since graduation? Do you know why?
Can't believe everything you read on the internet, buddy.
Yeah? Wikipedia, man. Jesus.
I don't know. I mean, well, my Wikipedia thing is completely bogus as fuck, honestly. But
Yeah.
I never touched it. You know what I mean? As you said, it doesn't say anything about me building Travis Scott's career from zero.
True, yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
I mean, it did, and somebody removed it, actually. But, I mean, it's like, you know, if you look on my Instagram, there's a picture of Travis Scott at my Thanksgiving meal in 2012.
Yeah.
You know, sitting next to my 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
You know, like, Travis was like a child of mine.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
honestly. Because when he came out here, he was 19.
So yeah, tell me a bit more about how you, because you said you grew him from ground zero, right? I want to know about how you actually linked Travis Scott to Kanye West.
Well, I mean, I was using Travis as a collaborative partner, right?
To Kanye West?
No. I mean, I was just using him as a collaborative partner.
Okay.
You know, there's other people, even to this day, I'll just go do sessions with people, and, you know, I'm going to pull up on somebody this weekend and just, like, vibe on what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I work with this guy, Adam Bowe, who works with, you know, Kendrick's camp and Teddy, you know, and I just reach out to him and we hang out and do sessions. We just worked with Zakara, you know, just to kind of like, what is this vibe? Like, what vibe are they on? What vibe, you know? So I would just, you know, learn things, see where their head is, and see what they think is cool right now. Because, like, I'm in the studio all day long mixing somebody else's project, so I don't have time, you know. And I'm a dad, so I mean, I gotta do a lot of work, you know, just to, you know, keep the business going. So I don't have time to sit on the blogs and and go through different playlists and see what's new. And So that's how I do it. Is I just find young kids and then, you know, make some beats and go, oh, so what do you listen to? You know, what's inspiring you right now? And then they're, you know, I just learned about the Tatiana song yesterday. You know,
Oh my God, yesterday, dude! It's been out for a long time, actually.
I know, but I mean, that's how I learned it because, you know, I just learned it from another kid that I was working with because I don't have time to. How did you find out about the Tatiana song?
How did I find out about it? Dude, I follow all the blogs. My job is to know, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. So, how about at the end of this interview, dude? I have to keep you on date on some new music. All right.
All right, please. I would love that.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know at the end of the interview. But so
it's like, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you're using Travis Scott as a collaborative partner, and then when was a moment when you're like, did he ask you like, hey man, I know you're working with Kanye, I'd love if you could, show him some of my work? Is that how it went?
Oh yeah, from day one, bro.
Okay.
But it's like, that was the whole thing all day long. I mean, but I'm not fucking stupid. I'm not just like, that's what everybody emails me all day long. Oh man, I got this new beat. This is great for this. Send it to Kanye, send it to Travis. But it's like,
that must be annoying, man.
I mean, it is what it is. Somebody said once to me that when that stops, you're really irrelevant.
True. Hey, that's kind of true.
I agree. So, I mean, I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I've done I mean, there were records that got on Cudi's album, Passion, Pains, and Demon Slaying, that were like that, just from people that I knew I was working with them, that would send me records, because because these people, these artists like Cudi and Kanye, they can't make it all themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting to get ideas from outside of that circle. I mean, not saying they can't, but there's only so many people in that social circle, right, that they allow in and trust, and maybe they aren't listening to 18-year-old kids from Nebraska that are cooking up just shit that they think is, they're in person. So what they're doing is, giving you back what they're taking in from the Travis album, right, or whatever, or the Sheck album, and they're trying to spit it back to you as their interpolation. And since they're the ones that are consuming it, that's how I look at it. They're, you can't take it from necessarily a producer or quote unquote that has been in the business for 20 years, because then they're not, like I said earlier with First Gen, is the youth culture thing. It's about making youth culture, so that's why.
Yep. But then how do you decide? Because you get so many people asking you, hey man, I think this would work for Kanye, blah, blah, blah. Why do you decide when Travis Scott shows you his music that you're like, you know what, I actually will show this to Kanye?
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't like I was trying to get it to Kanye. Honestly, I was trying to use Travis to be a part of my team. I was trying to get Travis to be more of a beat maker for me, like somebody to collaborate with musically.
Yeah.
That's what my first intentions. But so it wasn't like to take him to Kanye. It was just that, once I found him as an artist, I was taking him everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because specifically at the time when I met Travis, Kanye was busy doing fashion, was not really doing music.
Oh, okay.
At the time.
Oh.
So
during the Yeezus era, I'm guessing?
But this was pre-Yeezus. This was post-graduation.
Oh, so that big gap, okay.
Yeah, this is right after Watch the Throne. Like, literally, I left the Watch the Throne tour. I met Travis 2 days later in LA.
Yeah.
For the first time, face to face. What it was is why I thought he was going to be good is he made this Lovesick video all by himself.
Yeah, I love that.
One of the shots in it, he looked like a fucking star.
Yes.
He looked like a star. He was acting like a star. His music wasn't that good. It was okay. Mm-hmm. It was a blatant ripoff of Kanye, honestly. But I was like, I showed it to some executives, and they were like, man, this is pretty hot. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't taking it to Kanye without paperwork. So I signed Travis. It's not, you can say you're somebody's manager, but until you sign them to a deal, then it is no good.
Yeah.
And I wasn't just going to give away, and it's not just going to Kanye. That, Travis used that association socially to help him grow. But I mean, the real thing is Kara Lewis, the agent, is the key.
That's his agent?
That's who got Travis his first tours, his first opening up for Juicy J, his first Smoking Grooves tour. That's what really made his career. Yes, the association with Kanye helped in the photos, and then what Travis was doing with the social media, he flew us. He started flying Travis around to work with me in Hawaii and New York on the Cruel Summer project, and then that's when Travis started to really, that's when he met Mike Will and Mike Dean, and then you started really playing those social games to, grant, that's where he started getting his numbers up and really really doing shit.
Yeah. So did you at the time when you signed the paperwork, you managed Travis Scott? Did you actually work on his music with him too?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. What kind of stuff did you do?
I mean, I did the whole Alfaro thing with him.
Oh, sick.
I did produced and wrote and mixed the whole Alfaro thing with him while we were doing Yeezus. Like at the same time we're doing Yeezus, and before, well, during Cruel Winter we started because I did all that, everything he put out. So Quintana, Upper Echelon, all the things before Alfaro.
Yeah.
The Big Sean song. What was that?
Big Sean.
Don't Play.
Oh, yeah.
3500.
Oh, so you also did Days Before Rodeo then, didn't you?
Yeah, some parts of Days Before Rodeo.
Yeah. Huh.
But then that's where I fell off at there. You know, I had a plan, but it's just like I also had brain surgery in 2014, so it was a weird time.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, I feel you. But yeah, regardless, I mean, it's just an interesting story. But let's go through some of your albums really briefly because I want to know more about the experiences when you were making them, right? Let's start with Graduation. So, tell me a bit about the atmosphere when working on Graduation specifically.
So Graduation, you kind of just started making beats. I think what was the one with Adam Levine?
Yeah, Heard Him Say.
Heard Him Say. That was one of the first ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then John Bryan was brought in on a couple things there in the early beginning, who was the collaborator on the Late Registration.
Yeah.
And then that didn't go over as that kind of went stagnant. And then, let's see what, Kanye cooked up Stronger.
I feel like there was just so much, like, if you compare College Dropout, Late Registration, out of nowhere, there's this entire EDM, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, where did that come from? I just don't, that was so random.
I brought in, okay, so with the birth of that was Stronger was made early on in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think Kanye saw, that was the time he was opening for the Rolling Stones, or after the international tour he did, he saw, Justice was popping, the whole sound of music, EDM was coming alive.
Yeah.
So I think he wanted to use that on the record a bit more. And then I brought this guy, Andy Chatterley, over from London, who's a friend of mine who I had met working on some other records.
Yeah.
And he's the one that played on Stronger, Good Morning. If you look on the credits, you'll see where he's credited. But he brought a lot of that EDM sound, and we replaced a lot of the John Bryan sounds that were in there that were more of the Late Registration era.
Yeah.
Because like when we started the third record, John was kind of using the same sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this was, once he found Daft Punk, Kanye, and then like listened to that and then saw how that was at the time, Daft Punk was, the Discovery record had came out and was really popular.
Yeah.
And this was kind of before EDM really blew up. So we took, so I recommended this guy. Oh, Andy, this guy I was telling you about, is also like on Flashing Lights.
Yeah.
Those synths, those used to be horn hits.
Yeah.
Right, so he replayed those to be like synths with a sawtooth.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that is another thing that kind of changed the vibe made it way less R&B. So traditional R&B elements would be horns, strings.
Mm-hmm.
So those were then replaced by synthesizers, sawtooth synths.
Yeah.
That's the first appearance of the Moog Voyager on Kanye's records, which then carried on to this day, which is like a standard. Which even now, like the Moog bass is transcended that sound to every hip hop record basically on the face of the planet. Drake used it.
Yeah.
Everyone uses it.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's interesting because I didn't know that you actually brought in the people to form that EDM sound, right? I always thought in my head, okay, it's Kanye. Kanye's the one who is bringing in all these people, but it's interesting that it's the team members who are bringing in certain people to influence the sound.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I showed him, and then he, he approves it. But it's like at the same time, Kanye's doing pastel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's and this the time I brought in Andy, all the records were pretty much done. It worked like Kanye would make the beats himself, and then he would bring other people in to do more work on them, right?
Yeah.
Before that, it was, before Andy, it was, who did he use? I just thought about this guy the other day. Mars was one of these kids. Mars or James Posher, who plays with the Roots. That's just how it is in the music business.
Yeah.
Or this is how it worked in that era. It's not so much in current contemporary music because it's so minimal. Mm-hmm. People make a beat, they add a bleep, they add a bass, they add a da-da-da, it's done.
Yeah.
Where in that era of music, Kanye would find the sample, make the beat, and then, have somebody over and they'd play Rhodes on top of this section, or they would try, a Triton part on top of this, or a Juno on this, and then the song would live like that for a while,
Yeah.
And then, so, like I said, Omar Edwards was another guy that Kanye used a lot, who played for Jay-Z and played for Common. He's just a keyboard, Hollywood keyboard touring keyboard player.
Yeah.
So then Omar would come in. And Omar would play on 3 songs and do his interpolation of what he thought would be good on that song, And then Kanye would come back in. And sometimes keep everything, sometimes delete everything, and then there would be a new
Yeah.
It's just like a revolving door to see of who would like to help, and it's the same thing that's why people, when they read all the writers on these songs, this is how it becomes such a but it's also what gives it the great different color, because one producer will think in one direction of how it should be, and the other producer will think of another approach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, well, speaking of new approaches, I'm curious. So for 808s and Heartbreaks, I did a school project in high school this one time. It was about autotune, right? And I had to find out who first made autotune. So, I mean, clearly Kanye isn't the first person to make it, I guess, but I think that was the first time I personally saw it go popular. And I was just interested in who bought the whole sound of autotune when you guys are working on that.
Well, Cher, I believe.
Yes, I recorded that. I put that in my report.
That was the first one. Like, that was the first, and then, even if you listen on Jesus Walks, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, there is an autotune part in that. When he goes,
on John Legend, that was like the first hip hop autotune, because I was trying to figure it out to make it sound good, and it made it sound like Cher, and he was like, make it sound like Cher, make it sound like Cher. And so that was like the first hip hop auto-tune thing, and then the 808s thing was just like he wanted to sing, and so that was he wanted to sing. Like his thought on that is, and even to this day, singing puts the song in people's brains more than just speaking, because you don't sing. If a little kid's trying to learn something at school, they make it a song, right?
True. Hey, that's true.
That was Kanye's thinking on why singing 808's lyrics would be better than just rapping, or like the rap sung thing would be the best approach.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I mean 808's definitely introduced a whole new sound. But then I think when that carried on to Fantasy, I think he had a lot of long auto-tuned outros, super like very bright and like kind of like a circus vibe, right? Tell me a bit about how you implemented those outros on that album.
Well, the outros came from live performances, so then he was doing that at concerts.
Oh, okay.
Because then that's when he was really getting time to, because he wouldn't practice, but the auto-tune live,
Yeah.
Like when he was out on a stage, and then you can really hear it and feel it And then that's where he was going in, and that was also the same time that he was dealing with the stuff about his mother, right?
Yes.
So he was using that kind of like a therapy, like it was he called it his own therapy, public therapy. So that's what he was doing. You know, at the end of, you know, you first saw it at the end of Pinocchio's story, right? At the end of the 808s and Heartbreak. Isn't that on the 808s and Heartbreak record?
Yeah.
So yeah, he did that every night. He did it on Heartless, and he maybe did it on Amazing. So that was his thing, and then he just brought it into the studio.
Well, on Yeezus, I think I'm kind of curious. Like, first of all, it was the most experimental album I've ever heard. But at that point, like, if you ever want to throw out an idea, right? Were you ever like, nah, this is too crazy. Like, I don't know if this is like too much.
Well, you know, I had a thing, right? I used to think and say, you know, just be careful what comes out of your mouth because you will be judged.
Okay.
Like I feel like all these Kanye albums and going to these different places and making these albums, I called it musical Survivor.
What?
You know, like Survivor. You know, the show.
Yeah, but why musical Survivor? I don't get it.
Because you make a couple wrong ideas, man, you get voted off the fucking island.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You make a couple bad suggestions, you get the airplane ticket home.
I know, but Yeezus was all about like thinking of a completely new sound. Like that's what I'm saying.
I know, but you asked me like what to suggest. Like what were you suggesting?
Yeah.
You know, I played it like this. This is how I played the Kanye thing for many years. Like you got to listen to what he's saying all the time. Maybe not even to you specifically, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody came in. So a new collaborator comes into the room, and Kanye will give him the brief on this is what the album is, this is what I like, these are the parts I want in the album, this is the sounds I want in it, this is the sounds I don't want in it, you know. So you have to, and that might change from day to day or from person to person. So, you know, if you're listening to what he's critiquing other people, not only what he's critiquing you, you know what I mean? That's how you'll know what to give back.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So if he's if somebody comes and they got a high string part in the song that they did this giant orchestral idea that sounds all pretty and lush and it's in a major key and he shits all over it, well, I'm definitely not bringing a high string section in a major key to a song tomorrow.
Smart.
You know, and if somebody puts in some weird bleep sounds that are distorted that he thinks is amazing, then tomorrow I'm putting in bleep sounds that are distorted. You know what I mean?
Smart.
He listens to this mix of, you know, a RZA song, and he's like, oh man, the flute sounds so good.
Yeah.
So we got to use, you know, it's like trying to think. You know,
you really have to listen a bunch during those sessions, I feel.
Exactly, and you can't be clouded in what you think is right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like what you think is good might not be the same thing as what he thinks is acceptable for the parameters of the project.
Yeah.
Like the thing, I'm sure you saw the pictures in Hawaii that he had on the wall that said no this and no Gaga sounds and no.
Yeah.
You know, but that's like there are always parameters in every project of guidelines, and if you ever strew outside those parameters, you know, it was like worthless. You know, like what are you doing? It was like, and that's the way. That's what I always tell people, even to this day when I'm working. Like, what's the name of the project? You know, like what is the name of this EP? What is the name of the LP? Because then it gives you an idea of what to do. I'm sorry, I gotta put this down. I gotta return this. Excuse me.
Gotcha.
I gotta return a text.
Gotcha.
I mean, I can continue, but
yeah, I was gonna say I think it's like universally agreed on that his best album. I mean, you might disagree, but his best album is my Dark Beautiful Twisted Fantasy. Would you agree with that or no?
No, I agree.
Yeah. So do you guys? My question is, do you guys ever allude to that album when working on things like Yeezus or TLOP?
No, I think the past is always the past.
Really?
You know what I mean?
At least with Kanye, because he's always trying to make something completely new. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, let's talk about Life of Pablo real quick.
I don't know. I mean, the Pablo thing was so stressful. I can't even remember, honestly.
Really? I did read articles where like his graphic design team had to turn in things really, really like quick on time, things like that. Why? What was so stressful about Pablo? Was it just like quick time frame that you had to do work?
Uh, no, because it went on for a while.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it was like every other project. I think Wolves was another one of my favorites.
Mm.
Um, Father Stretch My Hands,
Mm-hmm.
Ultralight Beams, the way that came together with the kid from, you know, the, that was like magical.
The kid, the sample of the
Yes.
Vine or whatever, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Well, what about the Kendrick song? Was the Kendrick verse really old? Because the way it was mixed, I kind of feel like you guys tried to make it sound a bit newer.
No, the Kiddick thing was towards the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sounded like a really old verse. You know why that would be?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Because it was definitely at the end. Because we had been a lot of places to make that project, and then towards the end, we were in Los Angeles, and that's where Kendrick showed up.
Oh, okay.
You know, when you see the pad pictures and all those photos, you know, with Diddy and everybody, and Kendrick and Two Chains, that was all in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Hmm. Cool. Well, here's one of the last few questions I want to ask is with the Pablo album, did you notice how there was like a bunch of changes being made after it was put out? What do you think about like the whole streaming era today and how you can like change your album after it's out? You couldn't do that like 20 years ago, obviously.
I mean, I think it's a waste of time.
Really?
I was trying to be like say it nicer, but I don't even know. I mean, it's like okay, there's a saying, and I don't say this when I'm in the circle, but you know, perfection is the enemy of greatness.
Okay. Hmm.
You know, but it's just different. You know, it's like I don't know if you can fathom. I think people can't fathom the hierarchy of what's going on
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm talking to you, and I've had a great role in in many of these things, in many facets, but there is only one person running the operation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's the boss, and it's his decisions that are being made. So people are just executing the decisions. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think, you know, I don't know. I just I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Like rechanging and changing and so it doesn't make any sense to me.
I get it. I mean, I get it. There's not really that many artists that try to make their music as perfect as Kanye does. So I get it, you know. But as a producer, it's like you need a break sometimes. Sometimes it feels good. I'm guessing to just have an album finished, you know, go on vacation for a week or something, right? But yeah, I guess my last question really to you is your thing is called First Gen. You're all about the youth. What's your advice to young producers or engineers who kind of want to be in your position?
Just surround yourself with good people, quality, talented people. I think that's the biggest thing. I think one of the best things that has helped me on my career is studying the philosophy of logic and being from Chicago, because then, you know, you can tell when people are lying to you and when they're talking out their ass.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing in the world is to waste your time.
Yeah.
And be involved with situations that go nowhere, and you know what I mean. And to eliminate that, and then to be on a course, you know, it's different. My time, the way I came up, no one does it anymore, and it did take a long time. But then I learned great things to be in those positions. A lot of people now, no one's an engineer, everyone's a producer.
Yes.
But no one's ever seen a real producer. No one even has really produced songs that are successful. They're just making some crap song in their bedroom, and their friends say it's great. Everyone's high on weed and pills. It's fucking garbage. And they put it on SoundCloud. They get no money. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
maybe once in a while, you know, somehow it'll get to the top. You know, I don't mean to sound cynical, but it's like a friend of mine just emailed me his, you know, in his circle, the engineer kid just quit because he's not making any money, and the producers are advancing their careers. But you know,
yeah,
I don't know.
Tough. Yeah, it definitely has changed since your time, right?
Well, you know, now there's no studios. I came up in the era of the studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's how I made my connections. That's how I met executives. That's how I met artists. Being in a real studio. Now what's a studio? Somebody's bedroom, you know. That's even how Travis made his connections, because we were always going to the studios. How do you think he met Wale and Meek Mill and got on that Dream Chasers, you know, song like way early in Travis's career? That's because, you know, you're going to studios and you're making those connections with real artists. You're not just bedroom producers smoking weed all day, put crap out, put another song out, no one cares. It's like, you know, the volume compared to quality in this era of music it's been marginalized, in my opinion.
I understand. I feel you. Well, I mean, there is Instagram. Like you said, you have to go and meet these people and stuff. But isn't it easier now? Because now you can, like, just artists can message someone, hey, man, I like your music, blah, 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 let's link up, right? Like, kind of easier now.
I mean, yeah, there is that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you, Anthony, as a, you know, I'm 19, so it's like, you know, hearing that your whole first gen thing is about the youth, it's super dope. So I appreciate that, really.
No problem.
Yeah, and you said you work out of LA or New York?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Oh, okay. Because I was going to New York in the summer, so I was like, if you needed someone to like film your session or whatever, then I'd totally be down. But yeah, you know what? Maybe in the future, like I hope we can keep in touch, man.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Anthony.
No problem. Talk soon.
Thank you. See ya.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Yo, thanks for watching that FaceTime interview. There were a bit of issues with his video, but, you know, hopefully you still enjoy the stories he was telling. I know I just had so much fun doing this one, but hey, it's time for the top comment. Heisenberg commented on the last video. He said, I wouldn't have seen this interview coming, bro. Mad props for interviewing UK artists and keeping your ear to the ground. Hope to see more UK rap interviews in the future. I appreciate you, man, and I'll definitely take your feedback into consideration. But hey, click the subscribe button and definitely watch the last video we did.